Hello, I'm Adrian, Moonage Daydream, solo time. And if you saw last week's installment, then you will know the basic shape of this tune. You will have learned the rhythm guitar parts. In this video, I'm focusing exclusively on the guitar solo and what a guitar solo this is. It's probably Ronson's most famous solo, arguably his best solo, and it's probably like one of the greatest guitar solos of all time, man. I'm going to repeat last week's disclaimer that I can't actually play this solo exactly like Ronson plays it. He's one of those players that's just got a unique touch on the guitar, which I can't really reproduce. Maybe you can. Maybe you should come in here and do a little guest lesson or something. I don't know. So as with the rhythm guitar lesson, I've based this on a couple of different recordings. There's the original recording on the Ziggy Stardust album, and then there's the live Hammersmith Odeon recording, and I've kind of combined my favourite bits from both of those recordings in this solo and thrown in a few little bits of my own as well. I'm going to be focusing on the original solo, but I'm also going to show you how to play a few of the licks from the live recording as well. So let's get on with it. Okay, let's get started on the solo then, and I'm not going to go through this absolutely note for note because that would be impossible. So I'm just going to go through it in a fair amount of detail, and I'm going to point out the things that I find most interesting about it. Going to focus on the main solo on the original recording to start with, and then I'm going to go through two or three of my favourite licks from the live version as well. Once again, we're in the key of B minor for this. The solo is played over this chord progression. We've got B minor, A, G, F sharp. And the note choice in the solo, it's mainly taken from the B minor scale, B minor pentatonic. There are a few other little notes that he sneaks in there as well, sort of hints at B Dorian or B harmonic minor, perhaps over the F sharp, but I don't think you particularly need to think in terms of scales for this solo. Really, this solo is all about bending and expression and vibrato. And it's a real masterclass in vibrato. If you want to work on your string bending and your vibrato on bent notes, then this is a really great song to look at. Now the solo kicks off like this. We've got so we're starting off with this D note here at the 7th fret on the G string. Straight away we've got that really singing vibrato, so lots of variables when it comes to vibrato, so you can experiment with the speed of your vibrato, how wide the vibrato is, and you find your own sound with it really. A little slide up, then there's a bend, 12th fret on the B string. Again, adding that nice vibrato to the bend. Got that 7, 9, 10 on the B string. Another bend. And then we're going up to the 15th fret, and it starts this long series of really big bends. And I had to listen hard. It's hard to know where he's starting from with these bends. It seems to be the 15th fret, and then he's bending up to basically to the 19th fret. So it's a two-step or a two-tone bend here. So we're going from a D up to that F sharp. So it's a big old bend there. It's a little bit painful on your fretting hand. I mean, you could bend a little bit higher up, say bend at the 17th fret and do a bit of a smaller bend, but you don't get that full effect of that big soaring bend if you do it like that. So I think be tough and really go for that big bend here. Sounds really good, I think. So he just repeats that many times. He's kind of floating a little bit on the rhythm there, and then he comes a bit higher then, I think, to maybe the 18th fret. And again, a big kind of 1.5 to 2 tone bend at that point. Then he comes down to the 7th position. I think we've got something like this. And they're just more big bends really. So 14th fret on the D, 16 on the G. I think that's really where the solo ends on the original recording, just with that repeated bend at the 16th fret on the G string. Anyway, that's the main solo. I've kind of roughly taken you through that. If you want more detail and if you're a real nerd, then do check out my tab where I'll try and get a bit more precise on some of those details in this solo. But what I want to do now is just talk a little bit about the live solo as well. And that kind of starts in the same way, but then it goes even crazier, and there are some really nice licks to be had in there. So let me take you through that. So live solo, it kicks off in the same kind of way. We've got that D note, we've got some bending at the 12th fret on the B. But then we've got this really nice descending lick on the B string, which is something like so I'm thinking this as groups of 3 notes on the B string. So we've got, and we're playing all of this with the left hand. You're just picking the first note, and then you've got a pull off and a slide, and then you're hammering on, pull off and a slide, and just continuing that down the fretboard. I think Ronson seems to do this all with a couple of fingers. You could do it with the first and third. I think it works quite well with just first and second fingers. So you're going, and finally pulling off to the open B string. Ending with a bend, I think 4th fret on the G. So that's the first lick that I really like. Next lick that I've chosen from the live solo, which I really like, is this one. What a great lick this is. It's currently my favourite lick, I think. I only figured it out last week, and it involves this quite unusual, I think, combination of hammer-ons and slides. So it's all played on the G string. We're starting off at the 4th fret, and then I'm hammering and sliding at the same time up to the 7th fret with my second finger. So I'm starting on my first finger, hammering and sliding up to the 7th with my second finger, and then I'm picking the 6th fret and hammering and sliding again up to the 9th. So, and then picking the 7th fret and another one of these hammer slides up to the 11th. So, and what is unusual, I think, is the where you're picking. You're kind of picking on the offbeats here. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1. 1 and 2 and 3. So great lick, that one. Let me just talk about the section where he switches the delay on, his echoplex, and really it's the delay that's doing all the work here. He's just doing some very simple bends, and then with the delay on, it sounds like this. We've got, so I'm just bending at the 17th fret on the B string. I've got the delay set that the level of the repeat is really high. It's almost on the point of running away with itself, and then the delay can just take over. So we have, then maybe 15th fret on the G. Sounds great, but really it's the delay pedal that's doing all of the work on that section. One final lick from this solo then, and this is really just a classic Chuck Berry rock and roll kind of lick, played very high up the neck. It goes something like this. So this is a series of bends, and then you've got a fretted note on the high E string. So I'm bending 22nd fret and I'm holding down the note at the 19th fret on the high E, just going between those two notes, Chuck Berry style. And it just takes a breath with a hammer or a pull off rather from 22 to 19. And then as the chord changes to the F sharp, I'm just bringing that down one fret. Gear! And I'm using the same setup basically as last week with the addition of a couple of extra pedals. Guitar is the Les Paul, amp is my AC30, which is a 90s reissue, going into the normal channel of the AC30 and running that completely clean. Distortion is coming from a couple of different pedals. I've got my Rat distortion pedal, which I was using last week, and in addition I've got in front of that a fuzz pedal, and I'm using my JHS Mini Foot Fuzz. I think Ronson was a tone bender user, and I think the Mini Foot is kind of a tone bender type fuzz pedal. I'm using the wah wah pedal as I was using it last week, in that kind of cocked position. And then the other extra pedal that I've got today is a delay, which I'm using towards the end of the solo, and that's particularly prominent on the live recording of this solo. And the delay I'm using is my Belle Epoque Deluxe from Catlin Bread. Great pedal, and it's basically a clone of the Echoplex, which I think is what Ronson used, and you just have to set that right on the brink of going out of control, and then you get all of those crazy repeats and things like he gets in that live solo. Lots of fun using that pedal. So that's it for Moonage Daydream. I hope you've enjoyed these couple of videos. I've certainly enjoyed learning the song myself and putting all of this together. Once again, I've spent a quite ridiculous amount of time making a backing track and tabbing out all of the various guitar parts in this song. You can find all of that stuff over on my Patreon page. Thank you for watching. I shall see you next time. Bye bye.